The question on many people's minds at the moment is the direction of where the crypto markets will be heading. We do have some breaking headlines. Of course, the Federal Reserve has agreed finally during their open market committee on where the interest rate decision will be heading. And that is, of course, a 25 basis point hike. This, of course, again, comes after many of the analysts and institutions themselves had achieved almost consensus on the fact that a 25 basis point or 0.25% increase was the most likely course of action from the Fed. There were, of course, still murmurings throughout the markets and effectively worry that a 50 basis point hike could take place, but that has been put to bed with this latest piece of news. Off the back of that as well, we can see across the markets on the crypto bubbles, on the weekly performance, majority of the altcoins themselves are performing quite strongly, with some coins up as much as 90%. You see the DYDX coin there, 70%. Phantom up 30%. If I scroll a bit further down, we can see Hedera is up 5% on the week and nearly 80% on the month, still maintaining some of those gains we'd seen previously. And in fact, if we look on the volumetric side, we can begin to see that it is forming a new set of resistance around the current prices. In fact, I'll actually pull that up for you guys to show you what I'm blabbering on about. So I'm just on TradingView, and here is the pair Hbar and USD, or Tether actually to be more precise. On the left-hand side with these blue and orange bars are actually a volumetric profile, and effectively they're displaying the amount of volume at any given price, which you can see along here on this y-axis of being the price value of a Hbar token. And what we can see is the point of control where majority of the volume is taking place is, of course, around that 6 cent range. We're currently trading at 0.69 cents. 0.69 cents, $0.069 or 6.9 cents, nearly 7 cents. And this is on the daily chart. So we are sort of flipping this into resistance. This is where a majority of the volume is taking place. If we look further down though, we can see in that sub 5 cents range, there is still a lot of volume that would pick up steam if we do move lower on that particular chart. Flicking across onto the 4 hourly as well, there is an awful lot of volume taking place still around this 7 cents, which is showing there's a lot of people looking to buy and sell within this particular range. And the point of control on the 4 hour is shifting, indicating potentially, of course, give this with a pinch of salt, I'm more interested in the macro news majority of the time, that we may be looking at a new resistance range that Hbar will trade in between 6 to 7 cents. That's not saying it could fall out of this. And in fact, that Fed decision of the 25 basis point hike is actually driving a lot of momentum again across not only the sort of equities and sort of tech space, which are naturally slightly more risky, but of course the riskier assets in the cryptocurrency space as well. Bitcoin has just passed $24,000 again, and we may see some more volatility and frothiness return to these markets. I am still averaging into majority of these different positions. Of course, if you look out onto the much larger time frame, so for example, if I zoom out here, we can see we are still a long way away from previous all-time highs we'd seen, all the way back up at 25 cents and then all the way up to nearly 50 cents, 60 cents of when we saw that previous all-time high. And of course, the amount of information that I provide you guys on this channel talking about the enterprise level use cases, the transactions, the future projects being built on top of Hedera, genuinely believe that we will be seeing dollar-digit figures in the not near future, but in the longer term timeframes. Hbar has an awful lot of potential, much more so than some of the other altcoins that currently command a much larger market cap. Therefore, I will continue to invest in. At the moment, there's a lot of volatility, so I'm just slowing down my drip feed until we get more of a concise move in either direction. That is currently my game plan, nothing changing. And here's what I meant by a concise direction. We are currently now back in the greed zone of the Fear and Greed Index. In fact, we have been since yesterday, 56 and 60. And of course, many of you that have watched these videos for a while now know that I like to look at this metric, because whenever we have seen large spiking amounts of greed sentiment based on this index, we have tended to seen a sell-off in the coming weeks after that. And then of course, I like to accumulate around those fear zones we'd seen previously, which normally indicates the market is overselling massively. And you can see here the measurement breakdown. Extreme fear could be a sign that investors are too worried. And then when investors are getting greedy, that means typically the market is due for a correction. What goes up must come down eventually. And of course, I'm not saying that I'm looking to trade this per se. I'm just saying I'm being careful with the capital that I'm putting into the markets at the moment. There's an awful lot of volatility and we don't know which way they will swing next. Again, me talking about the macro side, Bitcoin, S&P 500 have both closed in on a bullish golden cross signal. So that's of course based on the 200-day and the 50-day simple moving averages are crossing over. And typically whenever you've seen this, a proportion of the time you tend to see a bit of a rally take place after this. Now, again, more interested in the macro side at the moment. There's some good macro news coming out of the Fed. The S&P 500's past data paint a similar picture. The index has seen 52 golden crosses since 1930. In that time, stocks rose in the following year 71% of the time. So just over 2/3 of the time of a golden cross taking place, we have seen a rally in the following year afterwards. And the similar thing at the moment is happening for Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. Again, take that with a pinch of salt. This is just some information that's coming out of the markets and effectively how people are responding to the information and the rate changes in the Fed and the economic data coming out of majority of the G5 or if not G7 countries globally. There are still recession fears at large though. Anyway, enough of the macro and even micro news to do with the markets. Let's take a quick look at the Hedera network overview, as there's been some interesting changes over the last week or so to do with key metrics on the network. Of course, the first thing to be said is that transactions per second are still averaging really strong and healthy numbers. We're still at 600 transactions per second. I'm currently on the 1 hour time frame. In fact, if I move that back to the daily time frame, just shy of 600 transactions per second. We have seen spikes of as high as nearly 2,000 transactions per second. The average create to consensus time, so the finality of that transaction taking place within the DLT structure itself, sub 5 seconds at 4.62. We have seen a nice spike in account growth, which I will cover in a second. But more importantly, if I actually flick back to the last year and I scroll down to the Hedera services, we can see we've currently got 2,000 active topics, but there has been a huge spike in topic creation to the point of which we're now at nearly 8,400 topics created compared to what we had seen previously. So year to date, nearly 6,000 topics have been created year to date out of the 8,000 on that yearly time frame. So, 6,000 additionally in about a month or so being created on Hedera. Now, I was wondering a little bit more about what was going on here, and I did take a quick look on Dragonglass, but I also found a really good Reddit thread, which I will pull up. So here's the Reddit thread, just again, noticing the same things that I saw over on Metrica. People have said, if you go to Hashscan and you look through the different topics, you can see that a bunch were created all around the same sort of time. Select one of them that was created, look it up via Dragonglass, and you'll see the payer of the topic ID as either one of these two account numbers. If you click through those topics, you'll see some of them with the memos for HSuite for 0.01027975 specifically. If you go back to the end of October 2022, you'll see a bunch of different things relating to HSuite. So it does appear to be that HSuite are creating a ton of different topics. And of course, actually, there is a little bit of news coming from HSuite, and that is that their NFT marketplace has actually gone live. So if I go to the correct URL, so I'm over on Hbar Suite's decentralized application, and we can see the NFT DEX is in beta. And here, of course, you can buy, sell, and trade NFTs, very similar to something like Zoo's marketplace. I'm not really sure what's going on with none of the images loading for me at the moment, probably an issue on my end. Of course, this was on the test net being tested for a little while, and they have now deployed this on the mainnet. We are still looking for their exchange. You can see over here soon. There's some different statistic information here as well about their HSuite token. So the circulating supply, the number of holders, staking. There's a stake option here, which I couldn't quite get to work, and some different features as well. I'm still bullish on HSuite. It's of course nice to have different DEX alternatives. Of course, you've got SaucerSwap using a forked version of Uniswap with smart contracts, and then we've got HSuite doing something completely different, taking advantage of the Hedera token service and the consensus service, of course being fully native to Hedera Hashgraph itself, to use smart node technology in order to process these different transactions. Now, of course, both of these different types of decentralized exchanges come with pros and cons. I guess one of the cons of HSuite at the moment being the smart node infrastructure didn't exist before. They've created this completely from scratch, and that is taking a little bit of time. I am still bullish to see how this project performs over the long term. The dev team seems incredibly solid, and they continue to give updates, and I will give updates as more information gets released about where they are taking the platform. just wanted to throw this in the video as I just thought it'd be a bit interesting because potentially it could have implications for cryptocurrencies as it is having implications for the wider globe itself. OpenAI, the creators of ChatGPT, are launching or looking to launch a ChatGPT mobile application. And obviously in response to a lot of that and the Microsoft news with them taking on a larger share of OpenAI as a company, Google as well is testing its own ChatGPT AI competitor, which has come from CNBC reports. So we could see a heating up space over the next 12 to 24 months of AI tools becoming more and more available to mainstream people like me and yourself. And of course, that could have wider implications for things like cryptocurrency and even jobs and tech industry in general. Be nice to see how that plays out over the space. Like I said, thought I'd throw it in as it's interesting. More to the point of cryptocurrency though, things are still expanding across the globe with the German bank 𝗥𝗘𝗙𝗘𝗥𝗥𝗔𝗟𝗦 to offer Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies to over 1.5 million of its clients. Again, in many of my previous videos, we have looked at tons of these different banks from across the globe, particularly in Southeast Asia, looking to offer Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies and other types of services like this to their clients. And of course, this is big institutional and retail money that form these clients. A lot of these banks have millions, billions and trillions of assets under management. And of course, this will further drive forward cryptocurrency adoption, but also the market caps, the total cryptocurrency market cap going forward. Separating the wheat from the chaff, you will see the sort of altcoin projects with high amounts of utility probably increase in market cap a lot faster than the majority of the space, and they will take up a larger percentage of this new greater cryptocurrency market cap that almost feels inevitable at the moment, particularly when you are seeing headlines like this all of the time. Of course, make sure you're doing your own research though. Not every project is created equal, and you need to fully understand what you're actually buying. Again, looking at some more Hedera statistics, this is from Dragonglass's website. We can see the total account creation is obviously closed out for January, as we are now on the 2nd of February, up 91% over the period. 250 to 60,000 accounts were created in January. And if you look at the bar differential, the variance between the previous months, the closing quarter that we saw of 2022, you can see this is head and shoulders above. A lot of this is probably as well coming from the Lithos comic and partnership that I covered in the previous video. Of course, a lot of those NFTs were minted. People that weren't exposed to cryptocurrency beforehand have of course created Hedera accounts in order to mint some of those comics and be part of that new burgeoning ecosystem that Lithos are sort of generating via that AAA title they are building on Hedera. Again, search across my YouTube channel if you want to learn more about that. I've got some different videos covering what Lithos are aiming to do on Hedera. Hashpack 6.1.5 has actually been released. This release includes a few new fixes as well as usability improvements, including hiding or warning users about malicious links contained in transaction memos. I think this is a really nice hotfix or deployment update for them to do. So we can see a fix for LG NFT non-standard metadata, the hidden memos containing malicious URLs, showing a warning as well for memos that contain URLs, and then adding some different games to the dApp browser. But you can see here, this is looking at your transaction history of a particular wallet, and you can see this transaction memo contains a known malicious URL and has been hidden. This is really good. Also, of course, the low transaction fees or fixed transaction fees that are low on Hedera, of course, can lead to bad actors exploiting that by like airdropping things like fake airdrops. And of course, if you interact with any of those and you effectively allow those decentralized applications to interact with your wallet, there is a very high chance that you will get your wallet completely wiped. They will effectively take all of your tokens. So make sure you're not clicking on anything via a memo in your transaction history. In fact, I wouldn't even bother looking at any of your transaction history unless you are expecting a transaction to go through. It's a good way to go through it. Of course, restart your browser to get these updates. It's fantastic to see Hashpack still building and continuously looking at making improvements to their wallet functionality. Right then, on to NFTs before I begin to round up this video. Away we go. The mint begins on the 8th of February at 8 PM ET. For 𝗟𝗚𝗙𝗘𝗥𝗥𝗔𝗟𝗦 Ghost Club, remaining whitelist spots are still being awarded in their Discord server. And of course, this is that onesie allocation. Something that I wanted to point out as well is once the mint does go live, I should say, these onesie style NFTs, these traits for the 𝗟𝗚𝗙𝗘𝗥𝗥𝗔𝗟𝗦 won't be there at launch. You will need to hold on to those NFTs and then they will be, I believe, like airdropping or trading previously, like how they did with the zombies versions of their NFTs to the holders of particular NFT IDs. We can see the supply is going to be 1,000 ghosts with a slightly increased mint price again of 1,250 Hbar. Whitelisted accounts, of course, if you have been interacting on the Discord server or won a whitelist, as well as Ghost Pass holders will have at least 10 days to mint. Any ghosts from the mint supply that do not get minted will be sent to Ghost City. The launch pad, of course, again, will be 𝗟𝗚𝗡𝗏. All special categories such as onesies and gold ghosts will not be received at mint, as I was trying to poorly explain. Each ghost from this mint has a chance to become eligible to be turned in for one of the aforementioned ghosts. You can read more about the mechanics for the drop down here. There are 2 ways to mint general whitelist spots. If you're awarded a D4 whitelist, drop 4 whitelist role in our Discord, you will need to message your wallet ID to the D4 whitelist channel. Once you've done that, your wallet will be whitelisted for the mint. We're excited to welcome more of you into the 𝗟𝗚𝗡𝗏𝗡𝗥 Ghost Club soon. So of course, big fan of 𝗟𝗚𝗡𝗥𝗥𝗔𝗟𝗦, and I will be around there for the mint. Hopefully I'll see some of you guys over in the Discord server. These guys aren't the only mint coming up as well. 𝗟𝗚𝗡𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, which I did feature in a previous video, and I did back when they released their 10,000 ghost collection, is minting on the February the 3rd for their lands. I covered the prices and stuff in the previous one. They're claiming, of course, it's the first playable metaverse, which I think it pretty much is on Hedera. And there's things like wallet connects in account creation, in-game NFT trades and swaps, token-gated entries, digital land ownership, and multiplayer. So, of course, this differs from the different land mints we've had previously up until now, because these guys do actually have a functioning sort of DApp or game, effectively, whatever you want to call it, that you guys can actually use immediately alongside those lands NFTs. Again, I have no idea how sort of big this will be. However, I did get some early access from the team and they gave me a test link, and I've got some footage to show you guys of what to expect once these NFTs have minted and this game goes live. I don't have any more information about that, so thank you to those guys for allowing me to show this. So on screen right now, you can see me effectively moving around inside this game, and this was part of their 𝗧𝗜𝗠𝗘𝗥𝗥𝗔𝗟𝗦, like early access that I think. So you can see all these different plots on screen here. I'm just sort of zooming in at the moment, and you can see that these different plots are owned by different people. If I click on the different plots, it shows their name, their level, the different land allocations that they currently have. So you've got Degen, Tycoon, Mogul, and Investor. Lots of these different plots as well are actually visitable, so you can visit these particular plots, and you can see here that the landowners that own these particular plots have the ability to customize it and add different buildings and things for users to interact with. Down in the bottom left-hand side here, you can see you can actually walk and move around. As you can see me here just sort of moving around this particular plot owned by this particular person. And of course, there is gated access to different ones of these. So you may have a plot and then choose to gate it for access to certain token IDs. I'm not sure on the ins and outs exactly how that's going to work, but pretty nifty nonetheless, and a novel experience to Hedera. And again, things like this help build out the different possibilities on Hedera itself, as well as what we can expect in the future from projects. Some different options here coming up on screen. If you sort of click around, you can actually send and receive offers and messages from within this particular game itself. Obviously, you can add friends and do different things like buy PAL tokens and then return back to the main map itself. If you click around some more as well, what you'll actually notice is some of the buildings in the plots, you can actually enter those as separate areas as well. So here I am entering this particular area. I think it was called Degen 8. Sort of clicking around, I can actually click on this particular building. It's called the nightclub, and it gives me an option to enter this building. I can then enter this building, and again, similar to what we just seen previously, you can then walk around, and if people are in here, you can sort of chat and drop messages, similar to experiences you may have had online with like Flash or mini clip player games in the past. So really sort of interesting thing, and nice to see a bit of additional utility to an NFT mint almost off the get-go. Like I said, I don't know when this is fully dropping, but I thought I'd share it with you guys because I had the opportunity to do so. If you guys did enjoy this video, leave a like, drop a comment if you've got something to say. I do try and respond to as many of them as I possibly can. Until the next one, I'll catch you then. Cheers.